Hello and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. With Mikey McCubbin away, myself and Henry have a very special treat for you in the form of a special guest. We've got Jorge Lopez Torrecilla, a Spanish journalist based in Madrid who is a freelancer for a number of publications, including La Liga Lowdown. Jorge, thank you so much for joining us on Continental Club. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. And you were at the Wanda Metropolitano last night, I hear. This is the sort of the first-hand experience we wanted. How is the game?
Well, the experience was good. The game, not as good as the experience. It was a goalless draw at the Metropolitano, so I got the full Atletico experience.
And you're a Real Madrid fan, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Nice. Based in Madrid, Real Madrid fan. And it makes sense for our topic, which is actually one that Henry wanted to suggest. Before we get into that, though, Henry, are you okay as well, my man?
I was going to say, I wasn't quite at the Wanda this week, but I was at Craven Cottage, on the pitch, in fact, cheering on Fulham as we got promoted. It was a great day. And yeah, I mean, I dislike Atletico based on the time they beat us in Europa League final, so it's good to hear they're still churning out 0-0 draws. But yeah, I like the fact we've sent McCubbin to Barcelona to do a bit of research, and we've got a proper Spanish journalist in his place, so hopefully we should have lots of knowledge on the show. But yes, it's great to have Jorge here. I'm very well, Dukes. It's good to see you too.
Good. Yeah, both your teams winning their respective leagues at the moment. Sunderland struggling to get into the playoffs in League One. That sums it up. Anyway, let's go on to today's topic of the day. And we're going to talk about the most disrespected players in Europe. It was actually a topic that Henry suggested because he wanted to talk about Gareth Bale. Jorge, let's talk Gareth Bale. I mean, it's been almost 10 years at Real Madrid, but yet it feels like it has been a disastrous season for him. I mean, how would you sort of summarise his Real Madrid career? Because it's been very much in two parts, seemingly.
Yes, that's exactly what you say. The first part was a good one because he played he got injured, but not as much as right now. He scored some important goals, not only in the Champions League finals, but from the last 5-6 years, it has been really a downhill road for Bale. Like he has been injured most of the games. He has only played for Wales, and not only that, but the disrespect we could say with him and the Real Madrid fan base, it's been a tough road for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Henry, you are a big Bale fan. I think probably one of the biggest ones at FD. What is it about Gareth Bale that so excites you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to defend him. I think, just to touch on a few things, I don't sympathise with his lack of effort with the fans. I do think that is a massive blunder throughout the time that he's been there. I think Jorge probably knows better, but I think the amount of interviews he's ever done in Spanish is maybe 1 or 0 in that time. It's I think I remember when there was a team dinner a few years ago, he was the only one that didn't turn up. And he said, well, why would I want... I've got a routine, I stick to it. And his agent, Jonathan Barnett, can come out and say this and that. But I think Bale could have done more in terms of ingratiating himself into the Madrid sort of ethos with the fans, etc. Because as we know, the fan culture in Spain is huge. It's really important. And I think he has failed on that front. However, I still just don't think you can overlook what he's done for the club. People seem to forget. I was just watching back his greatest ever goals in Spain. I agree, yes, a lot of them were in the earlier periods, but some of the goals that he scored, some of the magic moments of magic that he produced, Copa del Rey finals, I think hat-trick versus Rayo Vallecano, things like that, it is some remarkable goals, running from the halfway line, his own half, etc. And I think that peak Bale with Ronaldo, that deserves some kind of credit in the bank, that deserves a bit more respect. 106 goals, 67 assists in 258 games, 2 La Ligas, 1 Copa del Rey, 4 Champions League titles, and he was huge in those Champions League finals, wasn't he? We saw him score in that amazing final against Atletico, the first one, although Angel Di Maria probably did most of the work for that goal, if I remember specifically. And then, against Liverpool, the bicycle kicks, he scored in the penalty shootout in the second Atletico final as well. So I think we saw Casemiro come out the other day and say, when you insult Bale, you insult the history of this club. And I do think that's true. I mean, he is a slightly introverted guy, but at the same time, his legacy at Real Madrid, I don't understand why it's not going to be bigger than it is. I mean, Jorge, is there a portion of fans that sympathise with Bale? This is what I really want to know. Is there a portion of fans that still sort of love and respect him? Because it's not really his fault he was given that silly long contract, which he was at the end of the day. Perez has often backed him quite a long way. But is there anyone at Real Madrid who really can kind of see where Bale was coming from in the past few years?
Well, I have to say that from going to the Bernabeu and seeing the fan base react to Gareth Bale, I expected more whistles to him than what actually he got. Like, he got applauded much more than I expected. And I believe that until June, he's going to be supported by the fans. But that doesn't change the fact that he only played with Wales, that his mindset seems to be like only Wales. And that's something that a Real Madrid fan cannot forgive.
Yeah, no, it would be tough. I mean, I think the stat that I found most damning was since the start of 2020, he's made 19 appearances for Wales, but since the start of the 2019-20 season, so the previous August, he's made 27 for Real Madrid. And obviously he spent that year on loan at Spurs, which probably didn't go as well as many people expected, despite the fact his stats by the end of that Premier League season were actually pretty impressive. I think he got 11 goals, and I think it was about 3 assists in about 20 games, but only 10 of which were starts. So, in that difficult campaign under Jose Mourinho, I actually thought Bale didn't do too badly. I mean, Jorge, in terms of the future of Bale, where do you see him going this summer?
Well, I don't know if he's actually gonna sign for another club.
Really?
I believe that it all depends on if Wales qualifies for the World Cup. Like, for me, that's the turning point of his career right now. Like, if he needs to be prepared for December, he's gonna sign with another club. He's gonna have clubs because he has a great agent. He has the name also of Gareth Bale, and I believe that there will be a team that could sign him. But I don't think he's gonna re-sign with Real Madrid. I saw a rumor the other day that he wanted to stay in Spain. I don't think about that. So It all depends on if Wales qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and some people were suggesting that he might go to Cardiff City, back to where it all began, and just play, a few games there, keep his fitness up, and they'd be happy to do that because they'd be keeping Wales' best player fit for the World Cup if they make it. Also talks about Inter Miami as well. I mean, Henry, do you think this is quite a sad end for a player that's, given so much to the game, at least the British game?
No, not at least the Spanish game too, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I think he was an integral part of one of the most successful Real Madrid sides that we'll ever see. I mean, 4 Champions League titles. But yes, I do think it's going out for whimper. It's almost heartbreaking when you see him score those 2 goals against Austria the other day, one of which is one of the best free kicks you will see, full stop. It is heartbreaking to see that ability, which is so obvious. And like you said about that season with Spurs, I watched back some of the highlights there, and some of the goals he scored for Spurs last year were excellent. I mean, at his best, he was one of the very best headers of the ball I've ever seen. His leap was remarkable, some of the headed goals he scored for Madrid. And I really thought at the start of the season with Ancelotti back, I really thought we were going to see something a bit special from Bale again. He sort of played the first few games. I think he got a goal.
Yes.
And it really looked like they were going to get something out of him. And especially at this point, there were still question marks over Vinicius Jr. There's still question marks over Rodrigo. Certainly question marks about Asensio and his future. There was definitely an opportunity for him there. And it's just gone pear-shaped again. I think it was another injury that's hampered him. So he doesn't help himself all the time. His body doesn't certainly help him. I hope he continues to play. The Spanish rumour seems baffling. I don't know who on earth would take him on. I mean, if he's going to stay in Madrid, what's he going to do? Go to Getafe? It's not happening, is it? So, I mean, those rumours confuse me, but I really hope he goes somewhere and just gives it a couple more years, because he's still one of the greatest British players who've ever produced. The talent is still there. It's just, as you say, Doogie, just gone out of a whimper. But I'm going to defend him when it comes to Real Madrid. I still think what he's done on the pitch is unrivaled for most of the legends that have been there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree with you in terms of where he stands in terms of British exports and British players. I think he is one of the best British players of all time, but it's just such a shame what's happened to him in the last few years. But as you say, it's a combination of the club giving him that long contract. It's a combination of him not learning Spanish, not ingratiating himself into the culture. It's just been a bit of a mess, really, the last few years, and a really sad way to bow out. As we've got Jorge on, we're going to talk about a few other players based in Spain that have also been disrespected before opening it up to the rest of Europe. A player that was heavy in the comments under my tweet, Jorge, was Jordi Alba, who went through a little bit of a difficult patch, I think it's probably fair to say, maybe 2 years ago in a Barcelona shirt. But he's been excellent this season, don't you agree?
Yes, Jordi Alba had to be in this list too. He's just one of the, if not the best, left back in Spain history. He's just outstanding. He can defend, he can attack, he can assist. He also produces a lot of touches in midfield for Barcelona, which is key to their game. And Jordi Alba is also one of the most underrated players, yes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, his stats are absolutely frightening. I think only 2 players, Benzema and Oscar Trejo, have more assists than him in La Liga this year. That's 8 that he's got. 7.9 progressive passes per 90. That's in the 99th percentile. So only 1% of fullbacks in Europe are better than that. And only Dembele and Depay create more chances per 90 than Jordi Alba. I mean, what a servant for Barcelona, Henry.
Yeah, I mean, every time they try and replace him, it just seems to be almost impossible, doesn't it? I mean, they haven't had... You see it, like, if you look at Madrid, Ferland Mendy at least has had a bit more luck, maybe replacing Marcelo at moments, but it's just not been the case with Alba. He's effervescent, evergreen. He just keeps showing his class every year. I mean, like you said, a bit more injury prone recently, but I mean, that is one of the real challenges for Barcelona, is figuring out how to move on from Jordi Alba, because as we've seen with Dani Alves coming back, like, it takes a special kind of mentality to really sort of play for this club sometimes, and Jordi Alba has it. I'm amazed to hear that he's disrespected. I'm amazed to hear that people have potentially questioned his ability, because as Jorge alluded to, he's one of the most complete defenders that we've seen in a long time. And I think, I mean, maybe Jose Gaya, I've been saying it, at Valencia, maybe these are the kind of players they should be looking at. But yeah, I mean, with Barcelona's finances, you never quite know who they're going to prioritise this summer. But yeah, getting in a left back is going to be really, really tricky.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was interesting. It seemed like with Jordi Alba, he went from quite clearly in that conversation as best in the world around 2015 to 2017 sort of time. And then quickly everyone was like, oh no, Andy Robertson's the new thing. Alphonso Davies is the new thing. And kind of forgot about Alba and how just class he is at both ends of the pitch as well. And I think people thought he was going to struggle this year when Messi left as well, because obviously they had such a telepathic relationship. But if anything, he's been better than last year. So well done to him. Another player you wanted to mention, Jorge, was Sergio Canales. I mean, what a season he's put together with Real Betis.
Yes, Canales is one of the key. He's one of the key members of this special Betis squad who is gonna face Valencia this weekend in the Copa del Rey final.
Yes.
Like, Canales, he seems like he's always struggling to get into the conversation of best Spanish talents, but when you surround him with Fekir, with William Carvalho, with Juanmi scoring so many goals this season, like, Canales is one of the best midfielders in Spain, and I believe we should start the conversation about Luis Enrique calling him back to the Spanish national team.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that.
He's at the level. Like, you know, it is a quite crowded midfield with Pedri, with Gavi, with Busquets, Rodri. There is a lot of talent right there, but you can place Canales also in one of the in one of the right wings or left wing, so he can play in that position too. And yes,
yeah, I mean, you do have a lot of strength and depth there with Dani Olmo coming through and Sarabia. Where do you think is Canales' best position now, Jorge? Because he's been playing on that right of a 4-2-3-1 this year.
Yes. I believe that is his best position right now, because physically he's above 30 years old, I believe. He's also covered in the defensive actions by William Carvalho. Like, he just needs the ball, and he can connect with Fekir, with Juanmi, with Borja Iglesias also. Like, he's playing under Pellegrini this season his best football ever.
Nice, thank you, Jorge. Yeah, I totally agree. Canales, what a player. The beady-eyed amongst you will notice that I've shut my curtains. The sun was beaming onto my face too much. I was looking pretty much translucent, being the pale Scotsman that I am. Henry, I know you wanted to mention a couple of other La Liga players before we moved on to the rest of Europe. Yeah,
no, it's really interesting to hear Jorge talk about Canales in that kind of category of perhaps underrated Spanish midfielders, because I suppose if you look at Dani Parejo, he's another one that maybe went under the radar. And
yes.
He's now gone to Villarreal. I mean, it's one of the great free transfers of the last 5 years, I think, when sort of Valencia slightly imploded. But he's gone there and just been an absolute dictator in that midfield. Villarreal, on course for in one of their great moments in their history, aren't they? I think it will cause genuine problems to Liverpool in this semi-final. I've obviously been backing them the whole way in their Champions League run so far. And it's interesting that, we put this list out there to other people to contribute. And I think Iker Muniain is another player who was mentioned recently. And I mean, I think I talked about him on the show a few weeks ago. The fact that he's approaching 500 appearances for Athletic Club. 70 goals, 62 assists, 7th on the all-time appearance list. I mean, that's crazy. I don't even think he's 30 years old yet, which is kind of nuts when you think about his longevity in the game. 3 times Copa Del Rey runner-up. I feel a bit sorry for Athletic Club. I think they've won in the Super Copa a lot, but not quite been able to get over the line in the in sort of the big trophies, as it were. I mean, Jorge, what's your take on Iker Muniain and perhaps some of these kind of Athletic Club legends who won't get the respect they deserve elsewhere, but what they do for that side and the sort of the amount of time the amount they give to Los Leones is remarkable, I think.
Yes, when you go to Bilbao, to the Basque Country, you really get the affection that Iker Muniain gets from this Athletic crowd. He's a legend. He deserves to be a legend, and it seems funny to me that since Messi left, the assist king here in La Liga, it is like everyone's talking about Karim Benzema, but actually the leader in expected assists in La Liga is Iker Muniain. And he doesn't get into the conversation like that much, but he's a really good passer. He's providing Athletic with the best chances they can get, because Athletic really needs like a good striker. I was checking also the expected points, and if it wasn't for Iñaki Williams, that I don't like to say this, but he misses quite many chances in each game, Athletic would have been the 4th team in La Liga.
Wow, yeah.
And that's mainly because of Iker Muniain and all the football he provides to his teammates.
Yeah, but I think by expected points, they're quite down this season on where they're meant to be. Marcelinho's got them playing good football. I think that was always a bit of a wild card appointment for them at the time. But I like what you say about when you go to the Basque Country and the passion you feel for Muniain, because I was just in Naples and you got the same sense of feeling for Dries Mertens, who's never really been considered amongst the elite strikers or elite forwards.
Yes.
But you go there and he's absolutely adored everywhere you go there. He named his son Ciro, which is like the Neapolitan nickname which they've given him. And they are, I mean, it looks like he's going to be leaving this summer. But it was just remarkable to sort of feel the sense of affection for a player who perhaps we don't talk about enough, certainly in the rest of Europe.
Absolutely, and Dries Mertens has popped up with some crucial goals this year. Unfortunately, it looks like Napoli probably won't get over the line now after that draw with Roma in Serie A. It looks like it's between the 2 Milan clubs, but we tried to predict this title race all throughout the year and just been proved wrong on so many occasions. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But let's move on to some other players in Europe. I think this is a worthy shout. Neymar. I think he is a little bit disrespected, to be honest. I think when he is fully fit, which admittedly hasn't been as much as anyone would have liked in his nearly 5 full seasons at PSG, but when he is fully fit, I think he's quite clearly in the discussion, in the top sort of 6 or so best players in the world. His record at PSG is phenomenal. I don't want this chat coming back, oh, it's such an easy league. It's really not anymore. There's some fantastic young talent coming through in Liga, and I think it's really dismissive to write off the entire league on the basis that PSG have been so dominant in it. Because actually, there's been more winners in Liga, or more times that PSG have lost than there have been in the Bundesliga in recent times, or in Serie A until recently as well. So yeah, I'm not having this Liga slander anymore. And Neymar, 98 goals and 58 assists in 140 games for PSG. That's 1.1 goals and assists per game. So over a goal contribution per game is just quite phenomenal. Obviously, they've had some slip-ups in the league, not least to Lille last year. Obviously, they haven't got over the line in the Champions League despite putting in that excellent run during 2020, and were really unlucky in that final against Bayern Munich. But I think Neymar is slightly disrespected in terms of world football, and people have been very quick to write him off as well. Another player that was suggested was from @LukiG1, and that was Thomas Muller. I mean, what's the opinion of Thomas Muller in Spain, Jorge? Is that a player that a club like Real Madrid or Barcelona would have wished they'd got hold of?
Well, I don't know about that, because he doesn't have like this mega star aura around him like Lewandowski does, for example. He provides lots of assists. He's a player that you know that he's gonna give 100% each and every in every single game. And yeah, but he doesn't seem like to be a jersey seller, to be honest. Like, if you want a Bayern de Munich shirt, You would probably get Lewandowski, even Alphonso Davies, Kimmich, but I don't see Thomas Muller as this big, huge megastar, but he also deserves to be on this list.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
100%.
On the topic of
Yes.
Lewandowski, I mean, what have you heard, being on the ground in Spain about these potential rumours of him going to Barcelona? Surely that's rubbish. Surely they can't afford him.
Well, I don't know what to think about that, because if you hear like Barcelona's press, they have been talking for Lewandowski like for months. They've been talking about Lewandowski for months. So they are broke, but they can pay Ferran like this huge transfer fee. Like there is something weird going on, and I don't really know if they could sign him or not. Like I don't really know. Like I didn't think that they could sign even Ferran or Adama or these players, even Dani Alves, who could have thought that Dani Alves would return to Barca. Like
Yeah, you certainly can't predict what is going on with Barcelona's
Yes.
transfer policy at all at the moment. They are very thrifty. I mean, Mathieu Alemany, I don't know how he makes money. It just appears to grow in his garden by the looks of his transfer business over the last 6 months.
he's also like a disrespected football figure, Matteo Alemany.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, what's his
Yes.
sort of backstory? Because I actually don't know that much about him.
He was the key man in Valencia when they won the Copa del Rey.
Right.
So he was the man that got the Rodrigo, the Gonzalo Guedes on loan, the Parejo, the Kondogbia, all that squad. He was the one that assembled it, and he got into an argument with Peter Lim, and he was like in the naughty list of Peter Lim,
No.
and Lim fired him, and Laporta knew about his capabilities, and it has been like another key member of a Spanish club boarding room.
That's really interesting. I'd forgotten that. I mean, if you
Yes.
can thrive for a short amount of time under Peter Lim, I imagine that's quite good preparation for modern day Barcelona. Let's move on
Yes.
to another player that was suggested by Guillaume Lane 6 in Olivier Giroud, another Henry Hill favourite.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just quickly, it's interesting. Just looking at the stats here, Giroud's got 246 goals in 616 games across his whole career. Thomas Muller, who's not actually an out-and-out forward, has got 226 goals in 626 appearances. I mean, Muller's stats are incredible for someone who's not considered. You're right. He's a world-class player, but maybe not a superstar, as it were. But yeah, so it's funny to see that. But yeah, Giroud, I just think he's been slandered way too much in his time there. I think it hasn't helped kind of say what Benzema when he called him a go-kart or something like that. But I mean, he's won a World Cup, Champions League, Europa League, Ligue 1, 4 FA Cups, 11 goals in 33 games for Milan this season. At 35 years old, he can score some remarkable goals. Some of his finishes in his career have been astonishing. Yes, there was certainly a period at Arsenal where he could have done better. I think that's quite clear to see. There was certainly moments where he didn't live up to expectation, but I just even when he was at Montpellier powering them to the league title, I don't think people appreciate how crazy that it is that Montpellier won the league title when they did. So yeah, I really love Olivier Giroud. And another forward, actually, just to bring it back to Spain quickly, who I wanted to mention was Joselu at Deportivo Alavés, who was
Yes.
he was a laughing stock in the Premier League when he was here, certainly for Newcastle. He actually scored like 9 goals in one season for Eintracht Frankfurt before that. But if you look at his numbers for Alavés, it's 11 goals and 13 this season. A club like Alavés need a player like Joselu in order to stay up and survive. I think, I'm a huge fan of Iago Aspas. I'm not suggesting he's on the same kind of cultish level, but Joselu has really, I think, built a strong legacy to the end of his career. For someone who was a bit of a joke, he wasn't aesthetically that pleasing to watch. But I mean, Jorge, is he a bit more respected in Spain than he once was?
Yes, especially after this season with Alaves, because Alaves is a team that is really struggling. They don't shot too much on target in each game. Like, they're a team that offensively they could do better. Let's say it this way. So Joselu has gained a lot of respect this season in Spain. He's also on his last year of contract with Alaves, and there are quite heavy rumors of him going to Espanyol, especially with Alaves being in the relegation zone and all the signs pointing to the relegation to Segunda this year. So yeah, Joselu, which is a former Real Madrid academy player. He has been like all over the globe, like you said earlier, and I believe that Joselu's legacy is stronger in Spain after this season with Alaves. But before that, it wasn't that good.
I like that. A bit of a redemption for Joselu.
Yes.
Great to hear it. Great to hear it. Finally, let's just quickly mention Finn W34's suggestion of Ivan Perisic. I think Ivan Perisic has surprised a lot of people this year. Kept Robin Gosens out of the side for most of the year since his purchase from Atalanta. Obviously, Gosens was also injured as well, but Perisic has been excellent, and I think he's been kind of underrated his entire career. He's got over 100 goals and over 100 assists in 543 games across his entire career, which is really pretty impressive for a guy that's played all across the front line, played for Inter Milan for a number of years, obviously did really well at that spell at Bayern Munich as well, and has now sort of reinvented himself as a left wing back and done that really effectively this year for Simone Inzaghi. So Perisic, fair play, 5 goals, 5 assists in 29 games this season. But guys, those are our shouts for the most disrespected players in Europe. Get your thoughts about who we've missed out and your thoughts on Gareth Bale, our main topic. And let's move on to our big match predictions. So it's time for big match predictions, everyone's favourite section. Well, definitely mine at least. Time for a quick update on the scores. So heading into last week, I was on 34, Henry was on 31, and McCubbs was on 21. But then we had not too much drama actually in terms of the changes. Leverkusen versus Leipzig. Henry went with his favourite 2-2 draw. I went 2-1 to Leverkusen. I don't really know why I did that. McCubbs went 2-1 to Leipzig. It ended up 1-0, so McCubbs got 1 point. PSG versus Marseille. Myself and Henry backed PSG, but no one predicted the 2-1. McCubbs went with the draw, so that's 1 point for myself and Henry. Sevilla versus Real Madrid. I backed Real Madrid, but got the scoreline wrong. Everyone else was wrong, so that's 1 point to me. So not much change. I'm on 36, Henry's on 32, and McCubbs is on 23. Obviously, with Jorge stepping in for this week, they do not count to the overall leaderboard. But let's kick off with the big one. It is, as we already mentioned, the Copa Del Rey final. It's at 9 p.m. on Saturday night UK time. Real Betis versus Valencia. Jorge, what do you make of this game? What are you expecting to see?
Well, to see in the game, I really expect, Betis is a team with a lot of possession in each game. Valencia is a team that doesn't like the ball, so I expect Betis to have the ball, to go after Valencia to try to score, and Valencia being in this low defensive block and going into the counter attacks, because that is the thing that has worked for Bordalás this whole season, and Betis seems to be really comfortable with the ball. So that's the game I expect. I also expect to have a lot of goals. Betis is a team that offensively they are one of the best teams in La Liga. And yes, it should be fun. I hope it is fun.
Yeah, I hope there's a lot of drama in this one. I mean, it's been a bit of a weird season for Valencia, Henry. After a disappointing year last year, they were 13th that year. Slight improvement this year, but not really the sort of strides forward you'd like from some of their, with given the quality of some of their players is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, but I don't think they had opportunity to strengthen much in the summer. I think Bordalás is largely working with the same squads that he was dealt, which Valencia were using last season. And I was looking at Brian Hill, since he's gone there, hasn't really done anything. And players like that. And Ilaix Moriba as well, he's had a bit of a difficult season there. So they've had to rely on a lot of their sort of players from last season. But you're right, in the last 4 league games, 2 draws, 2 losses, only won one of their last 6 in total, currently 10th. 13 points off the Europa League spots, which is a real shame. They have dropped off quite a lot. So if they're serious about playing European football, this is obviously going to be their best bet. They've got to go after the Copa del Rey. I'm assuming that it's the same situation where if you win the Copa del Rey, you qualify for the Europa League. So yeah, it's. I mean, I'm pleased for Bordalás. I think a lot of people were quite critical of him when he went there. So ugly style of football, ugly brand of football with Getafe. But we've seen how much Getafe have struggled without him this season, although they've sort of performed quite well recently. But yeah, so I mean, for this game though, I really want to see Betis win. I think that would top off what has been a really great few seasons under Manuel Pellegrini. Pellegrini, a coach who I think got slightly, he's been disrespected. If we sort of look at our record here, obviously, I thought he did amazingly well at Real Madrid, and then I thought he did really well at Manchester City, and then West Ham was just a bit of a, difficult period for him. Yeah, exactly. So to see him go to Betis, have a few years to really build his project and produce results in the way that he has, such an exciting team, as you say, Fekir playing amazingly, Juanmi up front as well. I'm backing Betis for the victory, and I think the in what's Joaquin's last season as well. That would be just like the most beautiful way to top it off, I think.
Yes.
One of my all-time favourite players ever. I mean, it would be amazing to see. I mean, I think we saw in the semi-final the way the fans greeted the buses as they came to the stadium, all the fireworks, etc. Like, it means so much to them. Obviously, it would be the same for Valencia too, but I'm backing Betis. I'm going to follow what Jorge said and say there's going to be goals in this one. I'm going to go for 3-1 to Betis.
3-1. Oh,
Yes.
I hope so. That'd be
Especially
absolutely brilliant.
With the final being in Sevilla, which is the city of Betis, like, it seems all to indicate that Betis is gonna win. Yes.
Yeah, nice. What's your score prediction, Jorge?
I'm gonna go with 2-1 for Betis.
2-1 for
Smart.
Betis. Yeah, fair
Yes,
enough.
I'm not that optimistic with Betis because Valencia's defensive side is one of the best also in La Liga. And speaking also of Pellegrini, here in Spain, he has all the respect in the world because he's the coach with the highest winning percentage in Real Madrid, Malaga, Villarreal, and now Betis.
Wow.
So here in Spain, he's like this coaching master, and he absolutely deserves it.
Love it. He's also looked like he's
Yes.
gone through, the elixir of youth this year. He looks like he's dyed his hair slightly. He's changed his fashion sense on the touchline as well. I'm
Yes.
loving what I'm seeing from Manuel. I think it's been great. So, yeah, it'd be great.
Joaquin and Pellegrini, they seem to drink from the same bottle.
Yeah,
Or they-
exactly. It's so good to see.
Yes.
It's also worth pointing out that Real Betis have beat some serious opposition to get here as well. They beat Sevilla, obviously
Yes.
their rivals, 2-1 in the last 16. They beat Real Sociedad 4-0 in the quarterfinals, and then they sort of scraped
In
past
Anoeta.
and then
Yes.
and then they sort of scraped past Real Vallecano 3-2 in the semi-finals as well. Valencia, though, have knocked out Athletic Club, who obviously beat Barcelona and Real Madrid, so fair play to them. And they deserve their spot in the final as well. But I can't really see anything other than a Betis victory. But I'm going to make it a little bit more interesting. I think it's going to be 1-1 and then go to extra time. And then Betis will go and win in extra time. Yeah, I'm going to say 2-1 as well, but after extra time. So it is a little bit different from Jorge's. Right, let's move on to our second game. Inter Milan versus Roma. Saturday, 5 p.m. 11 points between them. Absolutely enormous game, isn't it, Henry, for Inter Milan?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also for Roma as well. I think I'm quite fascinated by this one. I think Inter were so good in their Coppa d'Italia victory against AC Milan, really blew them away. I think, you know what, Dukes, we once said we weren't sure if Lautaro Martinez was quite on the elite level. I think he's getting there. I really do think he's getting there. I think some of his finishing...
An amazing goal.
Yeah, is exceptional, and he's really stepped up in the absence of Lukaku alongside the disrespected Edin Dzeko. But yeah, I really like it in Inter Milan's chances. However, Roma, I think, are playing some of the best football I've seen from them. They absolutely took that game to Napoli last week. They didn't let Napoli off the hook. They were very unlucky not to win that, frankly. They should have walked away with 3 points, and they were good value for it. As we've talked about, Abraham played well, probably could have scored one more last weekend too. But yeah, I mean, I'm really struggling with this one. I think it could be another draw. I really do think it could be a bit of... I'm going to go for 1-1 on this, but I'm hoping it's going to be an exciting game because from what I've seen from both teams, they're both playing some of the best attacking football of recent memory at the moment.
Nice, yeah. I mean, a draw's not a bad shout. I mean, Inter haven't lost any of their last 9 meetings with Roma, but they've only won 3 of those, with 6 of those being draws. Jorge, I was going to ask you, I mean, what's the opinion in Spain of sort of Mourinho right now? Are people enjoying his current sort of, the fact he's at Roma? Are they quite impressed by his work? I mean, how do people reflect on Mourinho right now in Spain?
Well, here in Spain, Mourinho's quite like a boring topic because it has been the conversation main topic, like the main topic of every conversation for so many years that right now it's like, Mourinho, come on, okay, yeah, let's change the subject, please.
Okay.
So yes, especially in Real Madrid, like there is still people that hate Mourinho here in Real Madrid.
Really?
But like really hate Mourinho in Real Madrid, which is impressive to me. Yeah.
God, they never let it go.
No,
I know what you mean about
with all the Castilla
Mourinho.
situation, and yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean about Mourinho being a boring topic. We tried to rule him out of everything at Football Daily, but then he's actually done quite well at Roma, so we've got to kind of give him his moment.
Totally.
Fair play to Roma. They've had quite a good 2022. They're obviously in the semi-finals of the Conference League as well. They've played Leicester next week in a game that's really pretty important for both sides as well. I think Mourinho, you see what he did with the Europa League and Man United and how much importance he put on that. Obviously, it didn't go that well in Man United at the end, but if he could get his hands on a trophy this year, that'd be enormous for them. And obviously, Leicester have had a really, really disappointing year as well. So, yeah, massive game for both sides. And also, their record in the big games has seemed to improve slightly as well. They've beaten Atalanta and Lazio this calendar year. And as I said, drew against Napoli last weekend. But in this game, I think Inter have just got the bit between their teeth after that 3-0 victory over Milan. So I'm going for 2-0 to Inter. Did you give your scoreline, Henry?
Yeah, 1-1.
1-1. Okay, Jorge, what do you think? What is the scoreline for this one?
Well, I'm actually also a huge AC Milan fan.
Oh.
So I hope that Roma beat Inter, yeah.
Just because you didn't have enough European Cups supporting Real Madrid as well, yeah?
Yeah. Yes, that's it.
What's your
scoreline?
So, what's your scoreline, Jorge?
I hope that Roma wins. Even like a 0-1 victory. I don't care how, but please Roma beat Inter.
Okay. Love it. Good to know. Right, our final game before we wrap up for the end of the show is another huge one. It's Bayern Munich versus Borussia Dortmund. It's Der Klassiker, Saturday 5:30 p.m. There are 9 points between them. Bayern Munich, can win the league if they beat Dortmund this weekend because they'll be 12 points ahead with 3 games to go. So huge game for Bayern. Jorge, let's start with you. What was the reaction in Spain to Villarreal beating Bayern Munich? Because we thought there was a chance that Villarreal could be a sort of underdog this year, but I don't think anyone realistically thought they beat Bayern Munich. I mean, what a result.
Well, yes, it is historic for the Spanish football, for Villarreal, because it is so remarkable that a town with only 50,000 of population beat Bayern de Munich. Like, you could actually feel the Allianz Arena with all the population of Villarreal, and it's crazy to me. And there is like this sense of surprise, but if you actually see Villarreal compete in the Champions League, it isn't that big of a surprise. Because they played a great game at Old Trafford. They also played a huge game in Turin with Juventus. So there is like, at the back of my head, I was talking with some friends, and I really believed that Villarreal could eliminate Bayern de Munich. So it is a surprise because you never expect like Bayern to go out on their home turf with a team like Villarreal, but it isn't that big of a surprise to me, to be honest.
Okay, Mystic Jorge, I like it. I mean, Henry was also saying the same thing, that write off Villarreal at your peril. But it's a bit strange. I mean, it seems like Bayern's entire season and the narrative around that season, their season, has completely flipped on that one result. I mean, they've lost 4 league games, which is as many as they've lost in each of the last 4 seasons, and they've still got 4 games to play. They got knocked out in the Pokal second round. They got thrashed, actually, by Borussia Mönchengladbach 5-0. And they were knocked out of the Champions League, having been one of the favourites at the start of the year by Villarreal, a team that they'd probably expect to win 7-8 times out of 10. So really pretty disappointing. Despite the fact they've scored 135 goals in 43 games this season, they'll likely end up with 1 trophy. So a little bit of a flat end to Julian Nagelsmann's first year in Bavaria. Henry, what about Dortmund? I mean, we've said this all year. You just cannot predict what Dortmund you're going to get.
I think I said on Euro Roundup recently, I'm kind of fed up with Dortmund. I just don't really. They just, every time you think they've got some momentum, they seem to lose it. I just think they're slightly all over the shop, really. And if they do lose Haaland this summer, I think they're going to have to make some. I'd like to see them really go out and make some purchases. Do you know what I mean? Like, really try and strengthen that squad. Really try and close. I mean, Daniel Marlin, don't get me wrong, that was good. But like, go out and get a sort of striker who's ready to go and make an impact in the Bundesliga. That's really what I'd like to see. But, you know, they've scored a lot of goals this season, 76 goals. That's 1 more than last year already. But they have had injury issues. I think that's important to say. Certainly in defence, their defence has looked really shaky at moments this year. Looks probably like Akanji's going to leave at the end of his contract too. Only 3 players have started more than 21 games. Kobo, I think he's had a good season. I think we were praying for them to get rid of Borky, and they did. Borky finally, I think he's gone to America now, which kind of shows you what level he was at. But yeah, it's a weird one. Lost to St. Pauli in the Pokal. Don't get me wrong, St. Pauli, one of the better Bundesliga's via teams, but still not good enough. And out of the Champions League group stage, just on the Pokal, by the way, shout out to Freiburg and Leipzig as well, both in the final. I think it'd be amazing for Christian Streicher to leave Freiburg to the Pokal, and also Leipzig can make history. Gutted for Union Berlin, couldn't quite get over the line in that one. But yeah, just like with the Copa del Rey, a really exciting Pokal final to look forward to. But yeah, Dortmund, just a really disappointing season in my opinion. Just coming second in the Bundesliga it is what it is. So I mean, I'm gonna say Bayern are gonna win 2-1 in this one, but anything could happen. The score could be anything really. I mean, this one it's all over the shop.
It is really, I mean, these games are notoriously high scoring as well. Bayern have won their last 7 meetings, scoring 21 goals in that time. Jorge, do you see goals in this one? What's your score prediction?
Yes, I believe Bayern is going to win, but like probably 3-1 victory to Bayern Munich, because they have to see, well, they seem like to be the favorites always against Dortmund. Like, they know how to play Dortmund, they know how to score goals, and they need to get the job done as soon as possible. So that's why I believe Bayern will beat Dortmund this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sensible shout. I'm going to go one further. I think they're going to win 4-1, Bayern.
Nice.
Yeah, I just think they're going to roll them over. Absolutely smash them into the dirt. Although, I agree, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Dortmund in terms of their centre-backs. They've got Nicolas Süle arriving on that free from Bayern Munich. They're linked with Nico Schlotterbeck, I think is how you... Schlotterbeck, that's how you pronounce it. As you can tell, I don't know a hell of a lot about him, but apparently he's very highly rated. So I'll be interested to do a bit of reading on him. But guys, that is all we've got time for on Continental Club for this week. This sun is burning a hole in my retinas. I managed to close my curtains, but not enough. So I have looked pretty translucent throughout this entire episode. Henry, as usual, thank you very much for joining us. But Jorge, what a debut on Continental Club. Thank you so much for joining us. If the people want to read more of your content or follow you on Twitter, how can they do so?
Well, my Twitter feed is at Jorge_LTG. LTJ. Yes, it is better like this. And yes, I'll be writing about La Liga in English, following all La Liga content. And thank you for having me. It was really fun, and hope you enjoyed the video.
Absolute pleasure. Henry, I mean, to have a proper La Liga expert on, it makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Oh, fantastic. I'd like to talk for hours. I'd like to talk about why Rayo Vallecano are falling to pieces. There's so many stories I'd like to talk to Jorge about, but hopefully another time. But yeah, it's been great. And Dukes, it's been good. You've been like Two-Face off Batman, watching the way the sun has kind of half gone on your face the entire time. So that's what it's looked like, you know, the grand villain of Football Daily himself, Doogie. But yeah, Jorge, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a really fun episode.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Absolute pleasure. Yeah, I have been trying to angle myself towards the left a fair bit, but it's been a bit of a weird one from me. But I hope you enjoyed the content from Henry and Jorge. Thank you very much to Jorge once again. And please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.